In this video, I will show you how to replace the shift lever assembly in a 4th generation Kia Sportage. The shift lever assembly is the component that allows you to move between park, reverse, neutral, and drive. And when it starts to fail, you may experience problems like a loose shifter, difficulty changing gears, or the shifter getting stuck in one position. The shift lever assembly is mounted inside the floor center console. Because of this, replacing it requires removing the entire center console. For safety reasons, disconnect the battery. Open the hood, loosen the negative terminal, and remove it from the battery post. The first step in this process is removing the center console upper cover. However, before the cover can come off, the gear knob must be removed. To remove the gear knob, the shifter must be placed into the neutral position. Take a flathead screwdriver and carefully pop off the small plastic cap labeled Shift Lock Release, located right next to the shifter. With the cap removed, you will see a large white button inside. Press and hold this button, and while holding it down, move the shifter into neutral. Next, we will remove the shift boot from the center console. The boot is firmly seated and secured by several tight clips. After trying multiple methods, the cleanest and safest approach is to insert several plastic removal tools along the side of the boot's base. Once the tools are in position, gently pry upward until you feel the first clips begin to release. From there, slowly work your way around the boot, lifting evenly until all the clips are released and the boot is completely free from the console. With the boot lifted, you can now remove the gear knob. Grip the knob firmly with both hands. This is important because it's held in place by strong internal clips. Hold the knob straight upward using steady, controlled pressure. Do not twist it or pull it sideways as it's designed to come off vertically only. After a moment, the clip will release and the gear knob will pop off. With the gear knob removed, you can now move on to lifting off the center console upper cover. Start by placing your hands at the rear portion of the center console close to the armrest. This area gives you better leverage and makes it easier to begin lifting the panel. Carefully pull upward to release the first clips underneath. Once the back edge starts to come loose, continue lifting along both sides as you move toward the front. As you move forward, the upper cover will gradually separate from the console. After lifting the cover, you will see a wiring harness attached underneath. Disconnect the wiring by pressing the release tab and pulling the connector straight out. With the wiring unplugged, you can fully remove the upper cover and set it aside. Next, move on to the front console tray. This piece is held in place by 2 screws at the front. Use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove both the screws. The tray is still clipped in. Hold it firmly and pull straight up to release the clips. Once the clips let go, lift the tray out of the console. Unplug the wiring harnesses connected behind the tray. Begin with the main electrical connector by pressing its release tab and pulling the plug straight out. Next, disconnect the 2 USB module connectors. Press the release tab on the side and pull the connector straight out. With all 3 connectors unplugged, remove the tray from the console and set it aside. Now shift your attention to the footwell area beneath the dashboard. On both sides of the floor center console, you will find a small trim panel. These panels need to be removed because the screws that hold the center console in place are located behind them. The panels are secured only with clips. To remove one, begin at the edge closest to the seats. Slide your fingers under the lower edge and gently pull outward. As you do this, the clips will release gradually with a soft popping feel. Once all the clips have disengaged, slide the panel out of its rear slot and remove it completely. Repeat the same steps on the other side. With both side panels removed, you will now see the screws that were hidden behind them. Use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove these screws. There are 3 additional screws that must come out. 2 of them are located at the front of the console directly beneath the AC control switch panel. The 3rd screw is located at the upper center area of the console. Use a Phillips head screwdriver to carefully loosen and remove all 3 screws. Next, unplug the connector for the rear console wiring harness. Press down on the release tab on the side and then pull the connector out. Inside the center console storage compartment, there are 2 mounting bolts that must be removed. Start by lifting the armrest to access the compartment. At the bottom, you will notice a black mat. Use a pick tool or a small flathead screwdriver to lift it out of the way. Beneath the mat, you will find the 2 bolts. Using a 10mm socket and ratchet, carefully loosen and remove both. With these bolts out, the rear portion of the center console is now free. The floor center console is ready to come out. Place both hands on the rear section and lift it slowly. As you raise the back, the front section will begin to release from its mounting points. Keep an eye underneath to make sure no wiring harnesses or connectors are being pinched or pulled. Once both the rear and front are free, carefully lift the console out of the vehicle and set it aside in a safe location. The shift lever assembly is now accessible, but 2 of its mounting bolts are located beneath the rear AC duct, so we will have to remove this duct to reach these bolts. The duct is held in place by 2 10mm nuts. Using a 10mm socket and ratchet, carefully loosen and remove both nuts. With the nuts removed, lift the back of the duct slightly and then slide it backward to unmount it from the front console or HVAC housing. Once it's free, set it aside. With the AC duct out of the way, you can now see the shift lever assembly clearly. It is secured by 4 12mm bolts with an electrical connector located at the rear and transmission shift cable attached at the front. Start by disconnecting the electrical connector at the rear of the shift lever assembly. Press the release tab and pull the connector straight out. Avoid pulling on the wires. Next, we will disconnect and remove the transmission shift cable from the front of the assembly. Before disconnecting the transmission cable, make sure the shifter is in park position. Since the gear knob has already been removed, you will need to press the white plastic lever on top of the shifter and slide it into park. The shift cable is secured with a small locking pin that prevents it from coming loose. You can simply push the locking pin out with your fingers. No tools required. Once the pin is removed, the cable is unlocked. Pull the cable straight out from its mounting post. Now at the front end, the cable is still attached to the shift assembly with the locking clip. To release it, pull the plastic tab on top towards the rear of the vehicle. Then lift the cable straight up to disconnect it from the assembly. With the transmission cable fully disconnected, we can now move on to removing the bolts that secure the shift lever assembly to the floor. Use a 12mm socket to remove all 4 bolts. After removing all 4 bolts, I noticed that a wiring harness is clipped to the rear of the shift lever assembly. Use a pair of needle nose pliers to carefully unclip it. With all bolts and connectors removed, the shift lever assembly is now free. Carefully lift it out of the vehicle. Here is a close-up of the shift lever assembly. This is the part number. Now carefully position the replacement assembly in its mounting location, making sure it sits properly and aligns with all the bolt holes. Start by threading all the bolts by hand to ensure proper alignment and avoid cross-threading. Once all bolts are in place, use a 12mm socket to tighten them down. Do not over-tighten the bolts, as this could damage the plastic assembly. After tightening the bolts, give the assembly a gentle shake to make sure it's firmly secured and does not move. Now reattach the clip for the wiring harness. Next, reconnect the electrical connector at the rear of the shifter assembly. Align it with the slot, push it straight in, and ensure the locking tab clicks into place. Next, reattach the transmission cable to the front of the assembly. Align it with the mounting point and push it down until it snaps into place. Now slide the end of the transmission cable onto its mounting post. Once it's properly seated, push the locking pin back in to secure the cable in place. Double check that the pin is fully inserted and the cable is firmly attached. The installation of the shift lever assembly is complete, and now we can continue with the reassembly of the rest of the panels. But before doing so, make sure to move the shifter into neutral position. This is required for reinstalling the gear knob. Now it's time to reinstall the rear AC duct. Begin by positioning the front of the duct with the front console or HVAC housing. Once the front is aligned, gently lower the rear portion into place. Then secure the duct by tightening the 2 10mm nuts. Next, we are going to put this floor center console back in place. Carefully lower the console into position, keeping an eye on all the wiring to make sure nothing gets caught or pinched. Begin with the front section, making sure it lines up with its mounting points. Once the front is properly positioned, gently set the rear section down so it sits on the floor. Press the console lightly forward to allow the clips at the front to snap into place. Make sure the panel sits evenly with the surrounding trim. Before moving on, take a moment to check that every wiring harness is positioned correctly and not trapped under the console. Also, make sure the rear section is fully seated on the floor. Now let's secure the rear part of the center console. Open the storage compartment under the armrest and line up the bolt holes. Start each bolt by hand to make sure they thread in properly. Then use a 10mm socket to tighten them down, but do not over tighten as the plastic could crack. This step locks the rear section of the console firmly in place. With the bolts secured, put the storage compartment mat back where it belongs. Next, reinstall the 3 screws that hold the top of the center console in place. 2 at the front console and the third one at the upper center of the console. Next, reinstall the screws on each side of the center console. Then put the side panels back on. Begin by lining up the rear tab with its mounting slot and sliding it into place. Once the rear is positioned, press firmly along the front edge until all the clips engage. Check that the panel is properly seated and sits flush with the surrounding trim. Reinstall the other panel the same way. Now it's time to plug the rear console wiring harness back in. Position the connector carefully over its slot, then press it straight in until you feel or hear it lock into place. Next, reinstall the front console tray. Start by positioning it close to the center console and reconnect the 3 electrical connectors you removed earlier. Make sure each one clicks into place and is secure. With the connectors reattached, carefully lower the tray onto the console. Check that the 3 clips at the bottom are lined up with their slots, then press the tray down evenly until all the clips engage. Once it's properly seated, reinstall the 2 front screws to firmly secure the tray in position. Next, we will put the center console upper cover back in place. Start by reconnecting its electrical connector, pressing it in until the locking tab clicks into place. Once the connector is attached, lower the cover onto the console and gently press around the edges, making sure all the clips engage and the panel sits flush with the surrounding trim. Now it's time to reinstall the gear knob. Position it carefully over the gear shifter, then press straight down with steady pressure until the internal clips engage and the knob is firmly seated. Next, reinstall the boot. Place it over the base of the shifter and line it up with the console opening. Press gently but firmly around the edges, making sure all the clips engage and the boot sits flush with the surrounding panel. And that's how you replace the shift lever assembly in a 4th generation Kia Sportage. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe to WeJoin for more DIY car repair videos. Thanks for watching.